Okay, welcome to a quick episode of Tom's Geeky Garage. So recently we got moved. We're in a new location, which I'll kind of show more of that in our next actual product or actual project video. This is not one of those. This is kind of more of a product review and kind of a test. So when I do figures, and most people do figures, a lot of times we're using different kinds of paints and things like that. And I use satin paints, I use gloss paints, and I use flat paints. But usually when I get something done, I like the matte look of a matte figure rather than anything glossy, unless it's like leather or something that's supposed to be glossy. Um, so we have matte finishes. So normally you'd paint with your paint, and then you would coat it with a clear finish that would dry and make the surface matte or make it glossy, just like gloss paint on a car, just a reverse, right? So in the past, I've used several different matte finishes. I've used this matte finish here, which I got on Amazon, and I just recently got a Krylon matte finish. Now, the problem with most of these matte finishes is even though they say they're matte, when they dry, they still dry kind of a semi-gloss satin finish. It's never really true matte finish. But I recently got this product, which was kind of a special order here. This Winsor & Newton Professional Matte Varnish. Now, this is a true matte finish, and I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to do a couple tests here. I have the cap that came with it, which I'm going to paint half of it with the Newton and half of it with the Krylon. And then I have a figure head here that I'm also going to just kind of paint half of it with one and the other. So you can see the difference and see like what really happens. So let's get started. So here's the two that we're going to get preparing. Now obviously there are some differences here. I will say the price. The Krylon matte finish is probably around $6, $7 depending on where you buy it. The Winsor & Newton is going to cost you around $20. If you can find it locally without shipping, maybe you can get it for $15 or so, but it's quite a bit more expensive. But I promise you the quality of this is like 10 times better. And yeah, so let's do some testing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to spray half of this with the Winsor. So hold on, let me actually mark this with some paint real quick. So I can keep track of the sides here. I don't want to like be a fool here. I think what I'm going to do is I'll show you, I'll get some, this is satin paint. So it will dry with like kind of a gloss finish. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that on this side. So the red is going to be our Winsor & Newton side. So let me just we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to coat it with the Winsor & Newton. Alright, so this has kind of had a chance to dry. It's not 100% dry yet, but I'm kind of rushing here because I need to get it done. So I'm going to go ahead and spray our first coat of the Winsor & Newton on this side with the red, and then unmask it, and then we'll paint the Krylon on the other side and just see how the two sides vary. Okay, sorry I did it off camera because I didn't want to spray stuff all over here. But I will tell you that this lid was already shiny. It was already a really shiny finish because it's a cap. So we'll really know because this was already a pre-shiny surface. And I'm doing a really healthy coating here. I'm not trying to like just dust it. I mean, you can see how wet that is. I put a heavy coat of this on here. And the reason why that's important, a lot of these kind of varnishes, the heavier you put them on, it actually makes them more and more shiny. Like the buildup of the material makes it shiny. So with these, what I've had to do in the past was kind of hold it really far away and just dust it, like almost like just letting the particles fall onto the subject, because it would basically create a rough surface and kind of help mat it. But with this stuff, that's not required. You can just do a healthy, heavy coat, and it will just dry matte. So we're going to let that dry. I'll go ahead and spray the other one on the other side, and then we'll let it totally dry, and then we'll come back to look at the final lid. Alright, so we finished painting both sides of this thing. You can see down the strip down the middle is what the original surface was. The side with the red is the Winsor and Newton, and the other side is the Krylon. Now, technically, the Krylon didn't do a horrible job here. It did matte the surface. You can still see some shimmer on it. Not quite as bad as the center. So it does kind of work, but I would say it only gets like maybe like 80% there. This is matte, and this would work fine. But this is like super matte. Like the Winsor Newton side, you can just see there the glare going on that. There is like no glare happening on this side at all. You can see as I tilt the lid, the glare goes up into this area, but it does not travel down here. You can see that. That is flat. That is flat black. It has flattened that surface. Even this paint here, which is a gloss, it flattened it. Now, I didn't put gloss on this side because I didn't want to confuse which side's which, but normally with this Krylon stuff and the other mattes I've had, if it's already a matte surface, it will matte it. But I noticed with gloss and semi-gloss paints, it would still kind of look semi-glossy, but this has totally matted that paint completely. So yeah, I mean, that's how well it works. You can see the two sides there. I mean, it did matte it, but it only matted it about 80%, and this is matted 100%. So, I would say this is a really great product. Go get you a can of it. It is a little more expensive, but it does a way better job than any other matte material I've ever used. So that's it. That was kind of just a quick product thing, and we're out. We got a video coming up next week, which will be really cool. A little sneak peek of that. Yeah, so next week.